Yo, my guy, I got a question for y'all. Would y'all sign up and use like Twitter if you had to verify your identity, if you couldn't hide behind a fake alias?
I would be a troll. I would be an asshole.
Still troll.
So that's the whole point, is to
Yeah.
eliminate
Wait, you would
trolls.
still troll?
Yeah.
Knowing that
Everybody would troll.
How?
But what if well, now your job is gonna know that you troll.
Oh.
Like he's saying, if you had to verify with your passport, your address, and say, "Yo, this
Yeah,
is
so like
actually
when
what
people
happened."
when people talk crazy and they're like, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill your family, we can know who's saying that.
Oh, that would be nice. They should do that a lot. Because troll culture is like a thing now, bro. People are like, it's like normal now, especially on TikTok.
Do you think people are gonna use it though? I feel
That's
like
the thing. A lot of people like the fact that they can just hide behind the veil of anonymity and
I
say
don't
whatever
think
the
people are
hell.
gonna use it. I think people are gonna not use it at all. Like
So
it
then-
wouldn't even be an attractive platform.
So then you have to ask yourself, what is Twitter?
What is social media about?
What is
'Cause at the
social
end of the
media?
day, everyone's showing like a fake facade of who they are, right?
Cap.
Imagine if you had to like also put your net worth and everything. Like it's just there's
Nah,
like a
that's-
stat. That'd
that's
be
a little-
crazy.
that's
though.
a little too much.
This sounds like a
That's
Black
not-
Mirror episode. Oh
that's
my
the
goodness.
IRS would be very
At that
interested
point,
in
it'd
that.
be like no cap on the internet.
No cap on the internet. That you
it
could
wouldn't be
start
it wouldn't be a fun place.
Yo, do you
Yeah.
think depression would be higher than it is now if everyone saw?
Absolutely.
yeah.
Actually, you know what?
It might be a little less. Or like if you had to, this would be hard to do, but if you had to verify every claim that you made on social, so if you like post
Like
a car,
fact checking.
yeah, if you post a car, like an AI, there's an AI program, and like if somebody posts a car and they're like just bought a new car, but it's a rental, the AI goes in and just like is like, nah,
That car's registered
Nah,
to Avis.
nah.
Yeah, that car's
It has a
registered
little
to
tag on
Avis.
the post- on the post. This post is not verified by our AI program.
Nah, I'm in cybersecurity. There's a lot of personal identified information that it'd get very, very messy.
It would be terrible to
very
do.
legally messy.
So you're in cybersecurity. This guy's in tech.
This might be a tech
Wow.
episode.
Hell no, Brian trying to talk about tech.
Are you trying to run away from tech? Like, do you enjoy it as a like? If you didn't have to do it as a job and you got paid elsewhere, would you still do it?
No,
Mm.
I like what it allows me to do, but no.
That's a dope ass answer. Cause I know a lot of people that cap.
Right.
Oh, bro,
Oh my God, I love my job.
numbers, bro.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
love
like
what
what
I
it
do.
allows me to do, but you know, alhamdulillah, in the DMV area, you know, cybersecurity is it's always growing. We have federal and commercial clients no matter where you go. So it's a great industry to be in the place that I'm in. But now with jobs being like all remote and stuff, does it even matter where you live?
COVID
Hey,
did
man,
that for a
let's-
lot of people.
Let's introduce this
But
amazing
yeah.
guest that has so many mashallah accolades.
Mashallah,
Welcome back to
mashallah.
Ghost Talk. It's Hamza the Truth.
It's your boy Muhammad Sharif, and today we have Fuad with us, homegrown immigrant. A lot of goes by a lot of different names, but he does a lot of amazing things, mashallah. We did have some issues with our sound, but I'm glad we caught it. So we're
We could
hopping
actually
back
bring
into
this
it.
to you guys.
Yeah, we're hopping back into it right
I feel like
now.
that's the most awkward conversation to have. Like, yo, we had an amazing conversation. It was a dope time. The audio wasn't working.
We didn't get any
That
of it.
happened so.
It's
several
all
times.
hey man, minor setbacks from major comebacks. That's all it is.
Indeed. So you talked a little bit about the DMV, and like living there and working there. What was it like growing up there as a Somali kid?
So the DMV experience, so I was born and raised there. I stayed there from the age of about 10, and then my mom wanted us to live in Egypt. So from 10 to 15, we lived in Cairo. And I came back my senior year of high school. But so I would say like my first 10 years and then afterwards, living in America in the DMV as a Somali, our experience is more akin and more aligned to just a general foreigner experience. Just because, well, VA has more numbers of Somalis than we do in Maryland, but you know, because we don't have that constant reinforcement of Somali Nimo from like extended family, from general community members, and you know, we don't live in a city. We have it's very suburban.
Yeah.
So it's just your home, you go to school, you go to your masjid. That's really it. You don't have a lot of times where like you have big numbers of people congregating. You know what I mean? So you don't have those opportunities where, you know, you go to a Somali Maqayad, there's a Somali tournament, there's, you know, constant events and culture that's, you know, being introduced to you from a young age and cultivated in you. Unless your immediate household is very strong with the Somali identity and culture, more often than not, you're going to know that you're Somali, but like all your boys in school are going to be black, all your boys on your team are going to be black, And so you're just gonna know that you're Somali, but your experience is very much aligned to the general African American experience from the outside looking in, not from the inside looking out.
How does that work with the community of just being close? Like if you saw a Somali person versus seeing like a middle person,
Bro, I'm
is there a
hyped.
different? Huh?
I'm hyped. I'm hyped, bro. Before COVID, I have to work in DC, like 5 minutes away from the White House, and anytime I would take the train to go downtown, anytime I would see anyone that remotely looks Somali, I could be on this side of the train and they could be on that side of the train. Nigga, I'm walking all the way over. I'm introducing myself. Yo, what's going on? Do you live here? Where do you work? Let's get together. Like, you just have such a sense of pride.
Yeah.
Where it's like here in Minnesota,
It's normal.
Yeah,
It's like-
you don't bat an eye. You know what I mean? But yeah,
It's-
no, you have that sense of pride when you see a fellow Somali. Or shoot, they might not even be Somali. You might come up to them and be like, oh, I'm Habesha.
Mhm.
You're like, hey man, close enough.
There's a lot of Habashas too.
A lot of
the
Ethiopians
DMV.
in
A lot of
Are
Ethiopians.
you guys, is it like let's just say you see a Somali person, like when you're growing up and there's fights happening, right? Like here, there's a lot of infighting, right? Somali people always fight each
We
other.
don't have that concept, bro. We
don't have any of that.
No, we don't have that dynamic.
There's not enough of them to do that.
Exactly. Bro, you know what our criteria is? If you call your mom Hoya, you're Somali. That's all we care about. Like, that's the bar. Nothing Qabil, no family, no,
Cities.
none of that.
We also talked about this. You said we know the Somali people there, especially in the DMV area, are generally like have been here a lot longer than let's just Minnesota, for example.
Yeah, on average, yep.
Growing up in a community where like a lot of the older people have been there and done it, right? Just engraved in the society.
Right.
How was that? Like your mom's been through college, right?
Yeah. My mom, my dad for I think a certain amount of time. I would say it really just, I think the biggest impact that you can see is the bar and the standard that it sets when it comes to education.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like vast majority of the people in the DMV are college educated. It's very rare for you to find somebody that's just finished high school and it's just kind of like that's really it. So having a bachelor's is like the absolute minimum, then having the master's and going for your PhD is kind of what's to be expected.
Are they comfortable? Like I feel like the more educated someone is, the more open-minded they are to like the arts.
For sure.
So
For sure.
are they way more accepting of just like you doing, like when you got into, like you do comedy? How was she when she heard that, hey, I want to start doing comedy?
My mom?
Yeah.
Bro, my mom was like, you're not funny, so I don't know why you're doing comedy.
Oh my goodness.
Number one, she's like, you're not naturally funny. Why are you doing comedy? My mom, like, I love Hoya. My mom is not a fan of my writing. My mom is not a fan of the content that I create. Not on a hater, not on being some type of hater stuff, but she just can't connect with it because she's such a closed person. She's such a private person. So to her, it's like, why would you put your deepest, darkest things out for the whole world to see? She can't fathom that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it comes from. She's like, I don't really like, I can't connect with it. I'm a grown man now. She can't say anything about it.
Yeah.
So I'm old as
right?
She can't be like, stop doing
She
that.
can't be like, stop doing it. But she's not like, I'll be honest, I wouldn't say she's like my number one fan. And I'm okay with that. And I think a lot of times people, they want the people closest to them to give them that validation. And sometimes you have to be okay with the fact that might not come from them. That doesn't mean that they love you any less or anymore. It's just, they just might not see the value in what you're doing and the passion of the passion that you have in that art or that task or that hobby.
Yeah. So growing up, did like not being, because for me, my Somali identity and just the Somali community that I grew up around deeply influenced my art in any sort of art that I wanted to do. And it was, alhamdulillah, very much cultivated by that community that I have, whether it be, events, open mics, all these different things that pushed me to become better and better and better and compete with other Somali artists and whatever it may be. Did that have an effect on your art or like how you expressed your art?
So I got into art very late. Like I just started. I was always good at writing growing up. I never pursued it beyond school writing. I was a bookworm growing up. I loved reading. When I moved to Egypt, I found like my friends weren't really into reading like that. So my love of reading kind of grew less and less. Then I went back into it, I'd say, like as I was finishing college, started getting into writing. And I would say, honestly, my upbringing, so like my family upbringing, I didn't have a lot of male influences growing up in terms of like from my uncles and from my dad's side and things of that nature. So in a way, I was kind of shielded from a lot of the negative stereotypes and the negative ways of thinking that you can kind of be accustomed to just kind of like taking in by osmosis when you're around people that are not like, that just want to perpetuate just bad stereotypes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think not being exposed to that helped me be more comfortable in being different. Helped me be more comfortable in like, you know, standing out and not being afraid to go against the grain. Like I've always been like that. I've always been a person that can take risks, and I wasn't afraid to like fail. I wasn't afraid to go against the norm. You know, I actually came across an amazing quote, and it said, if you're not comfortable with being bad at something, then how could you ever consider yourself to be a successful person? If you're not comfortable with failing and you're not setting yourself up to fail, then how could you ever be a person that can be successful in the future? Like failing is the key to future success, especially when you can use those failures to strengthen the areas that you're weak in. So that's kind of the mentality that I have. It is like, okay, I know guys are not comfortable talking about their emotions.
Yeah.
Not comfortable talking about a divorce. They're not comfortable talking about being a single father. They're not comfortable talking about, you know, heartbreak and things of that sort. So it's like, okay, I'm secure in myself. I don't really care what somebody else is going to have to say. Their opinion is not going to impact me. But I also have to be aware that not everybody thinks that way. Not everybody is brought up to where they're comfortable enough to say, yeah, I can stand on my own 2 feet and say, I went through this. Now what? So.
Wow.
We get quiet a lot because we just soak it in.
Yeah. me and Hamza are really good listeners. If you guys,
I can tell. I can definitely tell.
Mashallah, though, you do definitely have a lot of wisdom and a lot to say, and I appreciate that a lot.
Are you trying to say I'm old?
In a way, yeah. I make fun of.
See how I caught that, right?
I make fun of. I make fun of this
way.
guy a lot for that. I like doing that though. I'm always around.
I'm trying to age well, man.
I'm always around.
I'm trying to age well.
You are.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, mashallah. He's not doing as well as you are.
What you mean?
But I'm always
Why he
around.
catching strays for no reason?
Wait, so let's get into comedy real quick.
That's a great
So,
segue.
let's do
Great
this. No, because
segue.
listen.
Because he's trying to just hear him out. He's trying to get me
You've
to.
done stand-up before.
Right.
How hard is stand-up?
It's very, very hard, bro. It's probably the hardest form of performative art out there, hands down.
Thank you.
How was it your first time on stage?
Man, I was nervous. Oh my god, because I'm a stand-up fan. Like, I'm from Maryland. I don't know if y'all know, Dave Chappelle is from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yeah.
My hometown. So
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he the GOAT.
Does he
regardless.
does he actually live there? Like
No, he lives in Ohio.
Ohio. That's the small town.
Are you sitting here, big boy?
Yeah.
Are you over there like?
Yeah. Are you fact check that, Joe?
Because
He's
he
like,
talks
yeah.
about how he lives in a small town and like
Yep,
how
in
he's just
Ohio.
like a regular there. So,
Yep. So man, like I'll never forget. Actually, I have it in my house, in my home office. I have an original copy of the Chappelle Show season 2. Disc 1, disc 2, and the bonus ones. This is before your time when we had to watch stuff on, DVDs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what a DVD
No,
is.
I have not come across those yet.
Just streaming.
Youngins.
Yeah, youngins. So that was my first kind of introduction to stand-up, skit comedy in general. And so from that point on, bro, I just loved what comedy could do. And like, not to get too deep, but like comedy was a very good coping mechanism for myself when I was just going through a lot of the things that I went through, kind of like in my mid to late 20s. I always say to myself, sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. And it's really true. Like if someone can make you laugh, you never know what that person is really going through, like what kind of day they had. But the fact that you can like, bring a smile to their face and lift their mood and make them laugh, like there's very few things that match that in terms of like feelings. But yeah, stand up is extremely hard.
The reason why I brought it up, first, you're into comedy, you've done stand-up, but this man right here wants to do a comedy show.
Okay.
Without practicing, without putting in the work, without researching it heavily, and he thinks he can go on stage and make laughs.
None of
Do you
that.
have any advice for him?
None of that is true. He
Defend
wants
yourself.
me.
Okay.
He thinks I'd be good at it, so he wants me to go and try
No.
stand up.
Okay, let me give you this. Me growing up, I'll be honest, I was very shy. I was extremely shy. I think I'm still I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense. And I was never the class clown. Never a person that could make people laugh. What I do is like I'm very good at impressions. I'm very good at doing impersonations. I can mimic accents and things like that. And I feel like I have a witty sense of humor.
Yeah.
Right? But I say that to say, just because like if you are a class clown or you're not a class clown, if you're a person that can make people laugh, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be good at stand up. You just have to really understand your style, your delivery, you know, how to build up to jokes, how to deliver the punchline, how to do callbacks, you know, how to manage the crowd, you know, how to be relatable. Because if it could be, you could have the greatest joke in your world, in your mind, but if you can't relay that message, if the people can't connect with it, you're gonna get crickets.
Have you ever bombed?
Yeah, absolutely.
How was it? Like
Bad.
how did it start? Like, just walk us through that entire session.
Nah, all right.
Like, we gotta know.
So I actually bombed recently. I think the last open mic that I did, I went to an open mic in DC, and I made a rookie mistake. You always got to read the room. I didn't read the room. I didn't understand who was in the audience, and so my jokes and material came across as very offensive to the majority of the group. And so here I am, like building up to a joke and building it up, and then I drop the punchline. It's like crickets. So I'm like, oh, all right. And then I got to go back and so like, let me go into my bag of like some jokes that I've done way back in the day that I know this is surefire. But by that point I lost the crowd.
Yeah.
And so I had to like cut my routine short.
At least nobody ran on the stage and slapped you, guys.
No. Although I guess
For a second, I was like, yo, what is he referencing?
I guess people are going to be comfortable with that now.
Hey man, then you start getting.
How do you feel about that? As a comedian,
lessons.
as someone who's been on the stage? Do you feel like there's a threshold?
I got to correct you, Hamza. I would never consider myself a comedian because I respect the craft.
Yeah.
People put in a lot of time. People put in a lot of effort. Like they dedicate their lives to it. They go do open mics 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
Doing like, you know, third shift, like telling jokes to drunk people at 2, 3 in the morning before they get their big break. So I would never.
Shout out to all the comedians. But as someone who's done stand up, if someone has smacked you, what would you have done?
Oh, if you put hands on me, I'm putting hands on you too.
Yeah.
The
But
show
if,
doesn't continue.
if you're hosting the Oscars and somebody smacks you,
What would you do?
Then that's just a free pay-per-view event.
He said,
I feel like it's a very,
They just didn't pay for that. That's a fight that's a fight that they didn't pay for.
so as
Oscar's gonna send me a bill.
That's what I was.
right. Do you think that joke was smack worthy?
Ooh, see, the funny thing is, he was laughing at the joke before,
I'm saying.
and then he realized who he gotta
Did
go.
you find it funny?
Huh?
I found it funny.
Like, would you find
I
it
actually
funny or offended?
So here's the thing. I
Offensive.
found a video. I was actually watching this video yesterday of this comedian that was explaining how a joke can have multiple meanings behind it.
Okay.
So when he was talking about G.I. Jane, he was obviously mentioning her dress, her attire.
Yeah.
Obviously the fact that, you know, she was bald in G.I. Jane too. But there was a third point that it's escaping my mind right now. But the moral of the story is jokes can be taken and interpreted in many different ways, right? For me, when I heard it, I just when I heard G.I. Jane 2, I just looked at the uniform. I didn't even know that she had alopecia, if I'm being real with you. I didn't know that she had like
A lot of people didn't. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So that's when I laughed. I was looking at it from that perspective. You can't control what somebody takes offense to. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
It's just with Will, I'm sure he was just fed up. Like he was just fed up being the butt of all jokes.
Yeah.
And, you know, just constantly being dragged on the internet, and he gotta go home with her at the end of the day. He's the one that has to be in that car, that awkward silent car ride. And he was like, you know what? I'm not about to have that happen to me.
Deal with that.
So
In the DMV, are there a lot of places where a lot of comedy shows where you can practice and?
yeah, for sure. You just have
it
to
like that
have
here?
again. You
Got
gotta.
Acme Theory.
There's
Acme,
a-
I don't know.
There's a lot of comedy stores and clubs and whatever.
Have you ever written a routine?
I was literally gonna ask you about that. Like, what goes into, there's not a routine, but there's concepts and ideas that I have,
Yeah.
and then there's jokes that would derive from those concepts and ideas.
Okay.
But like what I don't understand yet is like, what does, like, oh, for example, a poem. For me, when I'm writing a poem, there's an idea, there's a concept.
Yeah.
Usually it's like a cluster of words.
Yeah.
And what I usually do is I just write those words down to start out. Then I structure it from beginning, middle, and end. And then I edit it, and sometimes I rearrange it, whatever. But there's a formula, there's ingredients that go into the final product of like, this is the final poem here, you know? As a comedian, or like as somebody who's done stand-up, like what constitutes, or like what do you do from beginning, middle, and end of like, okay, here's a joke? Or is it just like what I have right now is like, here's a concept, I got a couple of jokes from it, and then you just test out material?
So that's a great question. So that's your writing style and sequence is very similar to my just general writing sequence. So like I'm writing a novel right now, and I'm not actively writing it. I have kind of put it on pause for a few months. But when I do, when I turn that switch on, what I do is, like you said, I sit down and I flush all of my ideas out.
Yeah.
I let it sit for a day. I come back to it, then I refine it. And then throughout that week, my mind is turned on. So if I think of a way to describe a setting or a scene or a dialogue, I pull it out on my phone and I write it down. I'm like turned on at all times. It's weird.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
My phone is near, like when I take a shower, my phone is literally right on side, right on top of the toilet. Because if something comes to my mind, I can't lose it. Dry my hands, write it down, go back.
Yeah.
So in terms of comedy, all right, I have a concept that I've been working on, that I want to try out the next time I do stand up. You know who I really want to fight? I can't stand these iPad babies. I'm not a violence person, but I'm telling you, these, not all iPad babies. Some of these, the iPad babies that have manners, that are respectful, that stay, and you know they're going to be in their corner. They're not going to bother anybody. I'm talking about the ones that call their parents by their first name. The ones that if the charger's not there, that all hell is breaking loose in Target. Those are the kids I want to fight. So that's the concept of a joke. Now you have to think of a way to, first of all, structure a flow, make it relatable, and then an ending punchline. And at the same time, you have to understand that like you can't prolong it. You got to be able to hit it within like a minute and a half to 2 minutes tops. Because anything beyond that, people are going to lose you.
Wow.
If you had to rate the things that you're passionate about, like what would be the number one priority in something that you're just trying to perfect right now?
Writing? What do you mean?
Ranking it. So like let's just say doing comedy, like stand up.
Oh, okay, like those things.
Writing a book, novel. What would be the number one priority for you right now, or what one thing where you're just trying to perfect?
I would say writing is probably the last, just because I know I'm a good writer, and I know that with time I'm only gonna get better. So that I'm not worried about. Stand up, yes, and I think also stand up, the more I live, the more experiences I'm gonna have, the more relatable I'm gonna be to different types of people. And that's another thing that I know I have to actually put time in. With writing novels, I need to make time within my day. Like I need to, structure myself where I'm financially able to like be able to prioritize that during the day, right? Set myself up to where like I don't have to work and I can do other things. Other things can focus on funding the things that I'm passionate about. But I would say the number one priority is fatherhood for me. That's something I do every day. And that'll never stop. So it's like fatherhood, then comedy, and then just writing and creating content.
MashaAllah. That's beautiful. You have a video that I love very much with your son. What was that like? What went into making that video?
So, okay. That video I did last Father's Day.
Yeah.
2021. 2020, I put a piece out. It's titled "A Dad with Daddy Issues." So that was really more me writing that for myself and putting closure on something that, I mean, even to this day I struggle with, like not really having a solid connection with my own father, and how that upbringing impacted the father that I am today. So to answer your question, I just wanted to do something for my son. So like he was 5 at the time, he's about to be 6. 10, 15 years down the road, he'll be able to look at that and be like, man, that was actually really cool what me and my pops did when I was 5. And then maybe, who knows, we might do another one when, 10 years from now, and then 20 years from now, and just sit back and reflect and look at everything that's changed. So just creating memories and creating things, always, people throw these buzzwords out, creating a legacy and all of that stuff. Like, yeah, it sounds good, but you actually have to have something tangible that you can look at and be like, yeah, this is what I'm going to leave behind, And so giving him like we were talking offline, like, alhamdulillah, mashallah, he's very articulate and he's very comfortable expressing himself way more than I was ever at his age, or even 10, 15 years, past the age of 5. And so being able to see that in him, cultivate that in him, and be the person that I never had, be the person that I wish I had, and be like, look, I believe we always talk about this, if you put Allah first and you work harder than anybody else, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. But that confidence and self-belief, it doesn't come out of, it's very, very few people that can kind of like have that from nothing, from within, and nobody really like cultivate that, right? But like, I want him to know that I'm his first believer. No matter what it is that you do, I know you can do it. I'm gonna hold you accountable. If you're slacking, I'm gonna be like, yo, pick it up.
I'm gonna be there.
Because I also don't like when parents just enable their kids and are not honest with them, because you're setting them up for failure down the road when they come across, the real world and other people. But yeah, it's just about being balanced and just having fun with it. Like, I'm a big kid at heart.
Yeah.
And so when we goof around, we're messing around and we're having fun and playing with Beyblades and watching the playoffs and all of that. Like, I love it because I can tap into being a kid, and I don't think I will ever outgrow that.
I think one thing with us is just, we live in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And Somali Nima is very much like, I feel like it's ingrained in everyday life for us. So I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
One thing that I always find my mom in is just the fact of, when you do have a child,
I'll grow that.
I think one thing with us is just, we live in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And Somali Nima is very much like, I feel like it's ingrained in everyday life for us. So I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
One thing that I always find my mom in is just the fact of, when you do have a child, how's the culture aspect going to be? Because she's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we still, like, when I go to K-Block, when I'm around people that are Somali, I still have to be Somali, right?
Right.
And then just that came from her, and being in a household where Somali was spoken, right? I speak mostly English. So in my household, I'd probably be speaking English with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you work with that, like, aspect?
So I understand, like, the majority of the Somali that I speak to him is the Somali that we speak when we're outside and we don't want people to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do my best. Like, when I go to my mom's house, I tell my mom, Hoya, just please speak to him in Somali. And she'll do it for 2 seconds. And then she'll be like, but no, Amir, what do you want? Do you want me to make you this? Do you want me to make you that? So, I understand, like, there's going to be a deficiency, and I think I've accepted that. It sounds messed up. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, you hate your own people. It's not that I hate my own people. Yeah. I just understand that I don't have the same cultural clout, for lack of a better term, and background and foundation that our parents had. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm willing. So here's the thing. You can outsource that, though. There's a way that you can outsource. Not even funny. You can outsource that by, the communities that you're involved in. Maybe traveling to Somalia, living there for like a summer, or spending time there. Inshallah, hopefully we can spend time in a Muslim country, just like I did, and how impactful that was to me. But to your point, the one thing you cannot outsource is being a parent. You can outsource a tutor, a Quran teacher, whatever it is that you want. But a parent, that's only your job. Can't nobody else do it for you.
Yeah, wallahi.
So you have to parent in the best way that you want to parent your child. Because your parents is going to want you to do what they thought was best. And of course, they all have the great intentions, the best of intentions. They came here with nothing. And look at, alhamdulillah, how we turned out. You know what I'm saying?
Or you could do what my parents did, which was, when you enter the house, you're not allowed to speak anything but Somali.
Otherwise?
Nothing would happen. They're just like, both my parents speak, like, they're kind of like your mom, in the sense of, like, if you're talking with them on the phone, like,
you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell. But, like, if I went to my house, like, hey mom, like, do you know where my backpack is? She just look at you like you speaking Chinese. So it's like, you have to speak Somali, then we can talk. It's like that was kind of their way of, like, making sure that their kids, at least in a way, spoke pretty decent Somali. I think they did a pretty good job. And then growing up where I grew up helped a lot too. Growing up in Cedar with
that's my point.
Yeah, with the gang of Somalis everywhere. It's just like,
I'm sure there's even people like similar to me where we're speaking, like my mom speaks to us in Somali and we understand Somali. I'm just not, that's not the first thing I'm going to speak if I have a choice.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
That's all of us. I mean,
that's
we're all,
I'm not going to be able to articulate myself in Somali the same way I can in English.
But can your son like understand it as much as you understand it?
No, not yet. Definitely not. I'd say he's probably like at maybe 30%.
So this is just a conversation I guess most people have at home. It's just when your son has his own sons. Right?
Yeah, of course it's gonna be less.
How do you think? Is it gonna get dwindle? Or are you gonna?
Of course, unless he decides to like, yo, we're gonna spend some time in Somalia.
But how much control? The other side of that is like, how much control do you have of that? Over that of like, my grandkids, the amount of Somali they speak, I will like make sure that
that's true.
I mean, there's not. What can you do other than?
I feel like you can do a lot though.
Like
like you just said, you can outsource it, right? You can make sure that it doesn't die down with you, right?
That's true.
You can make sure that you like. It's easy for us to just say, yo, well, like it's not up to us, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is up to us.
But what do you value? We all make time for what we value.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you truly value, you will make the time, you will make the money, you'll do the effort. If it's not something you don't, like, I mean, alhamdulillah, my Arabic is better than my Somali. I understand Somali 100%, but I speak Arabic slightly better than I speak Somali. And so, like, that's helped me, like we were talking about with the memorization of the Quran. And, like, that's something that I know I'm going to have a big hand, inshallah, in, like, passing down to him and, inshallah, future children that I have. Is that the knowledge of the Quran and then hopefully the understanding of it.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I feel like that's deen first.
Of course.
Culture, though. I don't know.
Culture is ever changing though.
But it's ever changing, but I also feel like there's just that innate thing in us where it's just, and I guess this is me just being Somali in Minneapolis, where I still feel wholeheartedly connected to another community. Yeah, like if I go to Texas or if I go to freaking California, right? And I'm with a bunch of people that aren't Somali, I can culture switch where I'm just like, yo, I'm American first, right? But the fact of just like, I don't feel out of place when I'm here. But it's huge. Here's
the thing. Here's a beautiful thing about Somali Nimo. It's not a monolith in terms of just being language, right? One of the beautiful things that I love about Somali Nimo is that no matter where you are on the face of the earth, if you see an older Somali lady, that could be your Hoya, your Edo, your Ayeya, there's something in you that's gonna help them as if that's your Hoya. Doesn't matter what's going on.
I understand that. But like, for one example, is that exact same thing. We were coming back from London, right? And we were coming to the States. And there was this Somali mama that was like, she spoke like French, right? Like she was like from France and her whole family was from France. And her kids spoke only French. They didn't speak Somali. And then they were having issues with the boarding agent lady, right? So she saw me and she was like, oh, Hoya Kali Lahadal, right? Like, Ya'awi. And you speak a lot more Somali than I do, right? I was like, of course, this is my mom. I'm going to help her, right?
Right.
We ourselves had an issue speaking because I didn't speak that well of Somali. So it was like, at that moment, I was just like, damn, like I questioned my entire Somali. You know, it was just like, I'm just like these other people that are walking around you. Like it literally, it hit me. Like it actually like was a point of just like, damn, like I gotta go learn it.
But what if you're a person who spoke fluent Somali, but you walk right by her? Is your Somali Nimo stronger?
Oh.
You get what I'm saying? It's not just, language is important. But it's not the only thing that's the measuring stick of a Somali.
So I like this because there's a thing my dad always says, and it speaks to what the both of you guys are saying. He's saying that the culture and the customs are not more important, but just as important.
Yeah.
And you're saying the language.
Both are important.
The language is important. My dad always says, language is the key to culture. So for you to open that door of culture and your dakhan right and that whole world, the language has to be there so that you can get into it. You know what I'm saying? But if you have no interest, like he said, if you walk right past it, if you have no interest in the dakhan and the culture, the language don't mean nothing. You could be fluent in Somali and like not care about Somali people.
Yeah, and but what I like you also said though, it is up to the individual, right? Like the culture, like if you don't want to just carry that Somali, if it's a burden to you, right? And you're just like, yo, it's just I'm an American, I was born and raised here. You don't really need to, but I'm just saying, as a person who loves the culture, who's grown in it, who's understood how important it is in my life and how my parents cherished it, I want to carry that on to my children.
For sure. You have to know where you come from to know where you're going. That's without a doubt.
Facts.
Right?
We spitting bars.
Facts.
Nah, I'm sure somebody else said that
Nah.
But no, I mean, even myself, like I came into loving Somali culture much later on in life. My first time in Minnesota was 2019.
Wow.
I was like, man, yo, this place is great, you know?
Yeah.
And just like now how social media opens, you can connect with Somalis. Like, bro, I went to Umrah. I saw a guy that I'm very close with on social media. I met him over there at Umrah.
Wow.
That would have never happened before. You know what I'm saying?
Is that again with the Somali, and I just love it because we are all Somali, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's easier to connect to like Somali, like people who are doing things just because of Somali? Is it an easier way to get into the door?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're into poetry and you're like, yo, I really want to start getting better at my craft, and then there's open mics, and they hit you up and they just send you a DM like, yo, I'm a young Somali person from Mankato. I like to come up. Do you feel like it's easier for you to accept them?
Oh yeah. Not only easier, but I wouldn't speak for other people, but I would choose them over anybody else just because and it's messed up. It's not like the right thing to do, but like I'm drawn to them more than I would say other people, and that's just how I was raised. And
I don't think it's really being messed up. It's just you want to give an opportunity to someone who you know I like. You can see yourselves in their shoes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you like, yo, I see myself as that younger kid. Like I know what it was. You know, that's why like I really like mentorship because it comes easy. Like I know what a 15 and 16, 17-year-old Somali boy is going through that's not connected to his dad. Because that was me. And so like I can see him and I can hear all of his anger and his rage and his frustration and his self-doubt and his insecurity and be like, yo, you got it, dog. You just got to like let me help you be the best version of yourself, because not that I'm any better than you. I've just been through it. So I know what to do and what, more importantly, what not to do.
I feel like that's huge. Because growing up, there wasn't many of us that went through it. Like our parents were first, like you just said, you're a homegrown immigrant. That whole idea, that whole ideology is just something new.
Right.
So the fact that you went through it and now you can speak on it, I feel like our youth in a better place.
And that accessibility thing, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that like as Somali people, we really need to take more advantage of. But I love that. The fact that like, oh, I'm Somali, you're Somali. Like I was in Spain, bro, of all places. Southern Spain. I think like Granada or Malaga or just some random city in Spain. And like I saw like Somali people, bro. And immediately, imagine just being surrounded by Spaniards. Not even black people. There's no other black people. It's just Spaniards. And it's your boys. And then you just see a Somali nigga. You're like, oh, Somali. And then boom. Now y'all friends. Y'all know each other. Exchange social media.
Yeah, inviting him over for dinner and helping him go to the airport.
Everything, bro. When I was coming back from Kenya, I sat next to a Somali old head. And like, we just immediately connected. We were just talking about life. We're talking about, he's married, he has kids, giving me advice on all of that. I'm asking him questions. Like the flight went by so fast. But like, again, I can't speak for other people, but I don't know if you can have that kind of connection if it was me and like some random Adan guy. You know what I mean? Or if it's me and some random Asian guy, whatever it may be. It's like, maybe it's not there.
There's just not that many things in common.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but it's very natural. And Somali people, there's not a lot of us. It might seem like there's a lot of us because we're so loud and we're like everywhere. Well, that is not. It's like max 18 to 20 million, I would say.
Like throughout the world, right?
Yeah.
Aren't there more Somalis outside of Somalia than within Somalia?
I would.
See, that's why we need
maybe
a fact
it's close.
person.
Yeah, we need somebody.
Actually, no, that sounds messed up. I don't think that's. let me
maybe
stop.
Maybe it's close.
I know it's between Somalia and Afghanistan in terms of the largest amount of people like from that country, from that ethnicity that don't live in their country.
Wow, it's not. That wouldn't be crazy.
There's an ayah in the Quran.
We got a fact check person.
Whoa, we only actually have 15.
We have 15 million in Somalia.
15 million
total?
Is it total or in Somalia?
Or is that in Somalia? How many Somalis are in the world? Wow, it's 15 million.
And so how many live in Somalia? I think like about 7 million in Somalia?
Yeah, 7.8.
So you were close though.
That's right. So yeah, just 7. About. There's just as many Somalis.
Ayub, our fact checker guy.
There's just as many Somalis in Somalia than there are outside of Somalia.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
What you said you got into art late. What made you do that switch?
Bro, honestly, I never even saw myself as an artist or like as a creative growing up. It was something that like going through therapy and seeing that I was good at writing and using it as a coping mechanism. I was like, man, like, okay, this is very, first of all, cathartic for me. It's helping me feel better. And then I was like, if I'm going through this, I'm sure other people are going through this. And I'll be real, like I never saw it as a big thing to put my stuff out there because like I'd already went through the whole process. So like once I wrote it, that's it. Like I kind of like closed that chapter. You know what I mean? Like even now I'll reread my stuff. I don't really get moved by it because it's like I'm not in that same space anymore from a mental standpoint. And so I think that helped me be comfortable just putting it out there and sharing it, and then just like, you know, having more ideas in terms of like what content to create. And I love fatherhood and I love, you know, reflecting on myself. So I'm sure that I can provide a perspective that's not really out there. Somebody who's Somali, who's black, who's Muslim, who's interested in being a father, who wants his best to have a strong, you know, attachment to the deen. At the same time, you know, loves sports, loves athletics, loves, you know, doing stuff that's just out of the ordinary, stand-up comedy, you know. So just trying to like shed light on all of the things that make me who I am. Not for me, but just so that other people can benefit. Because we only live 60, 70 years, man. We're really not that guys. Like we think we're that guy. Let me tell you, where's my camera? You're not that guy. You're not that guy. And so just trying to pay it forward and be a resource. Like you said, be accessible, be a resource for people that are going, you know, that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Did that come after, like, did you have a career before?
Career.
Like you said you were 26 when you started getting into the arts, right?
Yeah.
Prior to that, did you go to school, or did you have like a career path?
In terms of arts?
Not in terms of arts, but
just in general.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been in cybersecurity since 2012.
And the reason why I'm asking this is because I was going through one of our comments, and I think one of the comments was like,
"Do you only read the negative comments?
Huh?
Do you only read the negative comments?"
We read all of them, but the negative comments just make me laugh.
Yeah,
like, I just laugh. At this point, I just laugh at them.
Yeah.
But it was one of the comments was like, "Yo, what's up with Somali niggas and not going to schools, not doing anything? All they want to do is just sit down and start a podcast, right?" And then I wanted to respond with just like my credentials. You know, I was going to hit them all that, you know?
Go ahead, let them know.
But I was like, why not? So I hate the aspect of just like people thinking we just sit here and talk when we have like actual lives.
Yeah, we do.
Things that we actually do, right?
Hey.
So that cybersecurity thing.
Yeah.
Is it where did you? And this is me. I'm gonna speak for myself, but I want to ask you first. When you were comfortable in that position, you had a job, you had a salary, you were comfortable. Mm-hmm. When it came to terms of society, you were quote unquote successful, right?
Yeah.
Did you make the shift after you felt that quote unquote success, or was it before?
Yeah, I think the imposter syndrome in me is I don't ever see myself as successful in that regards.
Okay.
Like I understand.
Like, what is success? Define success for you then. In that regard.
Not having to work. Like being in a position where I don't have to work.
So you working in 8 to 5, making salaried probably is not success.
To me, no. I understand to others, yeah, but to me, no. Okay. I don't see it as something. It sounds messed up. I don't see it as something like for what I wanted, the aspirations, the goals that I have. Working and having a salary is not going to help me achieve what I want to achieve.
Did you ascend that thought after you attained it?
I ascended that thought after I had started and failed my first business. I said, you know what? I can't see myself as being an employee. I know that entrepreneurship is for me. I have to take a calculated risk the next time I do start a business. But starting something, seeing it have success and seeing it fail, which was back to the whole thing of like, if you can't see yourself if you're not comfortable and not being good, then how could you ever be successful?
Yeah.
Seeing that, like going through that failure was like, all right, bet. Like for one, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to invest in myself, to put my own bread up and to learn from my mistakes. And so once I got a taste of entrepreneurship and what that can give you, because when, you know, there's no cap in terms of how much profit or how much revenue you can make.
Mm-hmm.
True.
There's no cap to it. There's no limit.
Mm-hmm.
Not from a greedy perspective, but like no one's telling you this is what your time is worth. Right?
Yeah.
Because as an entrepreneur, you're on the clock 24/7. That's why you're not paid by the amount of hours you put in. You're paid by what product, whatever good or service or product that you put out there. And so when I had that experience of being able to see what that tastes like, I said, okay, I know that this is what I want to do. And I know it may not happen today. It may not happen in a year. It may not happen in 5 years. But eventually, if I'm able to reach that goal and set myself up financially to where myself and my family, that allows us to live a life that we want to live and pursue things we want to pursue, then and only then I'll be like, okay, in this aspect, I consider myself to be successful. And even then, there's always another thing that you can, you don't want to be content. There's always something else that you can strive for.
Mm-hmm. No, because I need that confidence comes from my whole life. We did this on a podcast where it's like, yo, finish high school, you just do that. That's your goal. When you finish high school, they're like, yo, you got to go through college. And then when you go through college, they're like, yo, you don't got a job yet, so you get that first job. And then at that point, once you get that first job, everyone's just like, damn, like, I guess you can do what you want. Like, like in society, you've won. Go ahead.
You know what, though? It's funny. I think my mom never giving me recognition or validation fuels that.
Okay.
She's never said, oh, good job, I get A's, 97. You're missing 3 points. So
Damn.
constantly having that
Same.
like
Is that a Somali mom thing? Because that's where my mom's the exact same way.
I think it's a Somali parent thing. Yeah.
Same. So like not to say that I'm not trying to prove her wrong or anything. I believe much more in like proving the people that believe in you right, more so than proving people that don't believe in you wrong. Like, why would you ever give somebody who's negative a time of day?
I'm the opposite. I'm like hell bent on proving people wrong.
Why do you give them that much time?
It's not time. The time is for me.
The mental energy, though.
It's not even the mental. It's not even the mental energy. It's just because I was gonna talk about this too right after you guys were done. But I'm in a different sort of space where I'm kind of doing it as I go. Right. I'm still working. Like I have a job and I have a 9 to 5, and I've had that since I was like fucking 15, 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
Just being the oldest in my family, I've always worked. Back to what he was saying, like, oh, they think we just sit around and have podcasts and talk.
Yeah.
Like, I pursue a lot of different things. I do a lot of different things. I'm producing a movie right now. I'm an actor, model, gang of other stuff.
I
right?
see it.
Alhamdulillah.
The black excellence is shining.
100%. But like, I'm still doing it as I go. Like, there's never been a moment where I was like, okay, now I get it. I'm gonna stay in this lane. But now that I'm graduating, there's a lot of like people that come up to you and they're like, yo, like, mashallah, you're graduating, like, what are you gonna do next? And then I'll go, I don't know, like whatever comes. And when I say that, it's a lot of like, oh, okay, this guy has no idea what he's doing. He's lazy. But it's like, no, I'm just doing a gang of different stuff, and like whatever works out is what works out, whatever I feel the most passionate about. But let me finish. But for the majority of my life, there's been a lot of doubt, and there's been a lot of like, because unlike a lot of other people, I've been an artist almost my entire life. I've been making art almost my entire life, and it wasn't really ever a reaction to something. It wasn't ever like a reaction to trauma or a reaction to, for a lot of people, that's how it is in our community. For me, it was, I love doing this. This is cool. This is dope. Like when I was a kid, it was something I was very interested in. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this. But almost immediately after, it was like, why do you want to do this? Do you think you're gonna blow up? Do you think this is So I get it. I don't necessarily give them the energy or the time of day or anything like that, but like that moment when I get to where I want to get to, and I proved a lot of people, not even a lot of people, very specific people wrong. It's validation. It's like, I did it, and like, alhamdulillah, I got there. And it's like,
hey, everyone has different motivating factors.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And so I was just gonna ask you, like, so being that you're involved in so many different things, how do you personally cope when you're not good at something, or when something that you had lofty goals for doesn't pan out the way it does, or the way you want it to pan out?
I'm very competitive, and like I'm very like, I would say it pisses me off is the first thing. Of like, I get frustrated. The very first thing that happens is I get very frustrated. I'm like, this is supposed to work. I put all this time in. I put all this work in. I put all this effort in, and like that usually lasts for maybe 2-3 days. After that, one thing that I learned is like, when you do fail, you want to fail forward. Yeah. So I look at, okay, this is what happened. This is why I failed, whatever it may be. And then I learned from that, and then I just from day 3 I just keep it pushing. It doesn't necessarily matter anymore. It's taken a lot for me to get to that point though, alhamdulillah. I wasn't always like that. Previously, if I failed, it affected me deeply because of the validation. I didn't get a lot of validation growing up. Not even a lot. I didn't get any validation growing up. Even now, there's no validation. It's just like, oh, you're graduating? When are you gonna go? What's the master's? What are you gonna study? You get your, oh, what's up? When are you gonna get your doctorate degree? You got $1 million? Where's $2 million? You know, it's just like
the goalpost keeps moving.
It never ends. It's like never validated, you know. But alhamdulillah, like now it's a point of like, and I'm still working on it too. But it's trying to fail forward and trying to, you know, when you do like miss the mark, is like, okay, learn from it as much as you can.
But Hamza, like, I mean, so y'all are doing great things with this podcast.
Alhamdulillah.
And I like the kind of openness that it encourages. But like we were talking about in terms of what is measuring success, do you feel like, Hamza, like, do you have enough people around your circle that are aspiring to things that are accomplishing things that are basically at a level where you aspire to be? And therefore, like, they're able to hold you accountable and they're able to, like, give you the right guidance. Because I think a lot of the times where the complacency comes in is, like, when you are the quote-unquote most successful person in your clique and you have nobody pushing you, have nobody that's, you know, helping ignite that, like, competitive fire in you. Not even not from a competition standpoint, but just from wanting better for yourself. One of my closest friends, his company just brought in $33 million of revenue this past year.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
And I know the amount of work that man has put in, the sacrifice, the dedication. And so when I'm friends with him, I'm like, yo, MashaAllah, I'm so happy for you. I want to get there. And I know that you have the knowledge and you're willing to help me, give me the guidance. And you provide motivation for me to get there too. Right? So do you feel like do you feel like you can keep yourself accountable if you don't have those people around you?
We talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
And I like that we talk about this a lot.
I think before I even answer, I have to like preface, like, me being 100% honest, like, we grew up on welfare, right? Like, we grew up on EBT, right? And so my whole life being in a situation where I'm with a lot of people that are going to field trips because their parents can pay for field trips, right? Going in a situation where, hey, these kids get to go out for lunch and we got to stay with free and reduced lunch, right? Yeah. And then coming to a place where now like my dad, mashallah, is working on his PhD.
Mashallah.
Right? And then getting to a point where I'm seeing a lot of kids around us that aren't going to get the same opportunities because EBT and stuff, welfare is like really, like, it's hard to get into, like, once you're in that circle, it's really hard to get out, right? And so it's hard to, like, and there's a lot of people that will tell you there's a way out, but they cap. There's like a lot of cap in our society. But I feel like there's a lot of cap within our community, right? In a sense, it's just like people will tell you, yo, get this certification and you'll make this much and you're good, right? So my biggest fear growing up was just, quote unquote, not being successful, right? But just being able to live a life where, yo, my kids would be straight. Yeah. Right? And going towards there and working and building towards that was like one of the most important things in my life. And alhamdulillah, I feel like now I'm content to where I'm at, where I can relay the message of what I've learned and where I've gone. So I think that's like the biggest thing for me, and that is what success is.
Man, I gotta give you your flowers, man. I gotta commend you for that.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Hamza, he doesn't toot his own horn enough. We'll say that.
You gotta.
We just sit on top podcast and just kick it.
Yeah, we just. Man, we need to do a day in our lives.
A day a vlog.
A vlog, so that. But also, I kind of like that, in a way. I've never been good at, like, which is a good thing, but I never really like cared about what other people think or say or comment. It's just there's a lot. If you go through, like, you'll see stuff like there's people say like, oh, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. And somebody else comes like, yeah, well, they're talking about this, and the other person, no, they're not saying shit. They're just talking. And then the other person gives them like 5 words. Me and this guy are just like in the comments,
just
like
laughing.
Huh. So it's all very interesting, alhamdulillah. And you know, we're fasting. We just broke our fast the last day of Ramadan. So hopefully, inshallah, you know, for the 3 of us and for Hamza and Hamza Thunder and Ayub, hopefully it was a good Ramadan. And benefited a lot from it. Do you think you benefited at least something from it?
Alhamdulillah, yeah. A lot. I feel like Ramadan's a good reset.
Oh yeah, I always say that. I wish every Ramadan was like started like January 1st. That was our first day of the year, is like Ramadan. That would be amazing. That would be such a vibe. Because I always come out of Ramadan just like on go mode, like just motivated, ready to go, like a lot of energy and a lot of like passion for whatever I'm doing. Do you think you benefited from this Ramadan?
You always feel like you could have done more.
Yeah.
You always feel like you left some stuff on the table. I think Ramadan, traditionally for me, it shows what we are capable of when our mind is right. It allows us to tap in and see that you have a 30-day window of what your true potential could be when it comes to how connected you are with Allah. Because you see yourself being able to read so much more Quran than you would during the rest of the months, and praying and functioning on 2-3 hours of sleep and not eating throughout the day. And you're just like, wow, like I was able to do that through the mercy of Allah. And I always ask myself the question, like, yo, what's stopping me from making that a regular? And then when Ramadan comes, Super Saiyan mode, right?
Facts.
So your iman, you want it to be like a successful like business chart where you go up and down, but like when you look at it, your down is higher than your previous high, and then you go up and then you down, but that low is higher than that previous high, and so on and so forth. So that's the way I always try to look at Ramadan. It's like, how do I make the lows
as high as possible
compared to the previous years.
Mashallah.
This is an amazing podcast. I had a lot of fun.
Incredible. I had a blast. So we usually end with this, and we do it with all of our guests. So inshallah, in a year's time, on around May 1st, 2023, ila haduna garsi, inshallah. We'll love to have you back on the show as a guest. Maybe even before that.
Count me in, man. I'm honored.
And by then, inshallah, we'll be in a different place. Hopefully a studio by then. Maybe we'll have a sound person,
a makeup artist,
somebody that is dedicated to beards. So if you have a beard, they just groom your beard.
Just groom it
the entire time.
You got you have to have the right products, man.
All the prophetic elegance.
Tap into my man Hanif, prophetic elegance. Tap in with
prophetic elegance. If you're trying to grow a beard, or if you already have a beard, and you wanna groom it, big shout out to my guy. But inshallah, so what are you looking forward to in a year? What sort of goals and ambitions do you have in a year's time, and where do you see yourself?
I see myself continuing to accomplish the goals that I've set. Continuing to have more patience in life. I think that's something that I have to get better at, is having more patience and focusing on controlling the things that I can control. I think a lot of the times I get antsy when I try to control things that are out of my circle of influence, right? And I guess I'm the firstborn like you, so it's just we're natural leaders. We naturally, we just are driven to do things our way and just take command. And so I think I have to, hopefully, in a year from now, I'm in a place where like not having or being more content with things when they don't go my way, and understanding like as long as I put in the maximum effort, I could sleep good at night and be like, all right, man, I at the very least, I know that I left everything on the table and I could live with the result.
MashaAllah, amazing. We're going to go and break our fast, inshallah. For all of our viewers, we hope that, by the time this comes out, it's probably going to be a couple weeks after Ramadan, but we hope that Ramadan, was a blessed month for y'all, and hopefully we all make it to the next Ramadan, inshallah.
What I want to see from you in a year, I'm putting this on camera.
I like this.
I want to see this guy do some stand-up comedy.
I like this.
I'll do it. Now I got what, 4 people that are gonna hold me accountable to that.
Hey,
inshallah.
If you need some pointers, I got you.
We'll definitely fly out to like if we could fly out to you and just hopefully like you guys have a lot of
for sure, man. We can make it happen.
But he's loving this. He's loving
this. The thing is, this man is probably like, one thing is, well, I feel like we don't give you enough flowers, right? This man is probably one of the most hardworking individuals I've ever met. especially at his age, right? One thing about him is that regardless of what profession you do, with a few YouTube searches, he feels like he could do it. Right?
That's my the TikTok. That's my toxic trait.
Right?
My toxic trait is I can do everything.
Right? To a point of like, yo, like you'll be shocked at what he can do, right? So we'll have issues with like our clips or whatever, and they're like, "What clips come? Can't be that hard to make clips." And they're like, "Bro, like it takes several hours to learn." And like within 2 days, like this guy will start outputting clips out, just boom, 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 boom. We're like, damn, okay, what else you got? So I really want to see you do it. Just in the fact that just I know you can, right?
Sure.
And also, I love seeing when you get humbled. I'll just
another motivating factor.
That's
for
good
you.
though. You need friends and people in your life that like are like, I love it when you get humbled, because like you need to be humbled a few times in your life, and that's important. You can't have yes men around you. That's a
don't worry about it. I'll have the flowers on one hand and I'll have the tomatoes on the other.
Of course.
Two friends for the price of one.
I know, right? Inshallah. Hey, also one last shout out, big shout out to our videographer Thunder. So he started we already had this business, but now he has a website and his Instagram is up and everything. So make sure y'all go and book him once this episode comes out.
Hey, what's his IG?
Thunderflix, right? Thunder Visuals.
.com.
Thunder Visuals. His website is
.com.
thundervisuals.com. He's in my opinion, the coldest photographer / videographer, not in the app, in the world. We're not competing with Minneapolis. We're competing with the world, man. But yeah, if you have a baby shower, if you have a wedding, if you have...
But who says the app doesn't have the most talented individuals in the world?
If we're going to finish our Thunder commercial, we're not going to have this conversation right now.
Hey, man.
If you need product photography, all of that, go hit them up. That's the end of this episode.
Again, Walai, thank you so much for coming out.
Hey, and shout out to Ayu for really making this happen.
Big shout out to Ayu,
Big bro.
too.
Big bro,
You're
Ayu.
leaving us, too. We gotta have a podcast.
He's doing like, he's doing like LeBron. You know, going back to Ohio.
I'm coming home.